I once heard from Rav Wosner, Reb Shmuel Wosner, Rav of Zichromeir B'nai Barak. He said that in the brachos of the Shei brachos, only in the last bracha of the Shei brachos do we ask for love, ahava. Ashaboro, sosan, vesimcho, chosan, vechalo, gilo, rino, ditzo, vechedvo, avo, achva, vesholem, bereus. Only in that bracha do we ask for shalom bereus. And if we didn't have that bracha, two people couldn't live together. There wouldn't be shalom bereus. There couldn't be shalom bereus. Having a love and a hava, which we call as love, isn't a natural thing. It's a thing which we've got to ask Amatona from the Rabbi Shalom, because that is something which is the most necessary stuff in chinuch of children. They need to see love, ahava, achve, v'shalom bereus from the parents, even though they know the parents are different. Tati's like this and mommy's like that. There has to be a unity that Tati and mommy love being together. Not Tati says, oh, my wife, she drives me mad, leave me alone. Or mommy says, my husband drives me mad, leave me alone. That is a terrible attitude that breaks down the future generations of seeing ahava, achva, v'sholem, v'reus. Love is the most important thing in a marriage, because love, through loving each other, you learn to love the Rebbeinu Shalom. If you love your fellow human being, you learn from that to love the Rebbeinu Shalom, because you can love something which you can't grasp. Love something which is not like you. Love something which is different. If it's the same as you, you're just loving yourself. You're not loving the Rebbeinu Shalom. You have to learning to love, working on love. It's the most important thing, to draw attention to each other, wanting to be together. When you see your children living together and wanting to be together, not running away from each other and leaving the burden of responsibility of the family to each other, but they're living together to build it up, and each one tries to learn from the other something of a way of life. That is what love is about. It's such a strong subject. In the Goyish world, they look all the time for love, and the reason they don't find love is because they're only looking for self-satisfaction. Love is not self-satisfaction. Love is a spiritual upliftment in the person, which brings you nearer to the Rebbeinu Shalom. When the Shechina, when you're loving your wife, you two together, the third person in between, the third being, the third thing, whatever it is in between, is the Rebbeinu Shalom. Shloisha shitvim be'odom. There's three shitvim, three partners in a human being: the mother, the father, and the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Rebbeinu Shalom plays a role, and is not only a role, he is there in every aspect of your life. The Rabbi Shalom knows everything about you, and he's only there to help you. And when you go to a Rebbe, you have to understand that a Rebbe doesn't have a certain way of life, and then you are a Chassid. A Chassid is a person who uses life and tries to better himself. When it's in learning, whatever standard his learning is. I always say that if somebody is learning, I go to people who cannot read, and I say, but when you make a bracha Friday night, and you light these candles, you don't keep anything. And you think about these candles, you think I'm doing the biggest mitzvah. There's a nachas riach to the Rebbeinu Shalom for every mitzvah you do. The value of a yid we cannot understand. I always will remember how the Beis Yisrael once, I always have to say that when I say the Beis Yisrael, because he was the light of my life. He showed me a way of how to live life. What is life about? He took out my neshama, cleansed it, and gave it a new chance to start again. It's a pity, in the younger years I didn't have the chances. And sometimes people think I talk against organizations and schools when I say that they didn't understand education. These schools didn't understand education, and the only way we can rectify to make schools understand education, giving love and care and wanting to learn to these children, is by rectifying the mistake and admitting to the mistake that you have. Before rectifying the mistake you have is something which our schools never want to recognize. And that's why they were angry at me at going back to my youth and saying that there was mistakes in the way my system and education and the way I was taught. But the only way we can learn is by going into the mistakes that we have made and rectifying it and making sure that it doesn't get passed on to our children. There's some very important points there, like valuation of children, how you value them, whether a child in his youth is valued or not valued. There were lots of boys who didn't have my brains, but worked out to in a much higher position in life than I am, which, well, they look at it that way. But the reason is because their parents always told them, they are fantastic, they are fantastic, they are fantastic. And my father always told me, I'm no good. And that's the truth of the matter. Some people don't like me talking about it because they think it's disgracing my father, which it's not. It's just trying to explain a situation, and by explaining the situation, rectifying the mistake that there is and there still is in life. It's the same way as counseling. It took me years and years of understanding counseling. You know how long it took me to understand counseling and seeing the benefits. And even the Rabbonim, I had arguments of persuading them that counseling is a good thing. Going to somebody and talking about your mistake. Let's give a simple example. You are not liked or something like that, and you are not called to all functions and you're not invited. That people, you feel bad, or somebody has hurt you. Looking at the situation where somebody insults you. Let's take a situation where somebody insults you. And if you look at the person, why is insulting you? And you say, look, he doesn't really mean it, he's nervous and he's upset and he can't help it. You are able to overcome the situation. You don't hate the person for insulting you. You don't have to run after him and talk to him, but you don't hate the person. And I don't aim for revenge. Why? Because I understand the person was upset. He just had a bad situation. He's lost money or was other situations in life. He's lost the position. And his situation has caused him to look at you down. It's the same way as looking at my father. My father looked a lot at me down. And the only way I could rectify this is by understanding my father that he'd lost a young wife for 2 little boys, and here he's stuck with 2 little boys, and this has never gone away from him, and it's hurt him, and so he's never been able to look up to these little children and say, oh, lovely little children, yes, clever 2 boys, very clever, because he's had such a tragedy and a disaster, and it's made me look at my father in a different light. This is what we have to do in life, and we have to do this with partners. I'm talking really just touching on every subject. Each point I make today will be, I hope, as Hashem, further dealt with, because it's such a lot of understanding in each point that I cannot get through. I can only touch to show you the explanation of things I want to do in the future on this channel.
Wenn einer halt im zweiten Hand, wird der Geitel angespannt bis in den Himmel, in der Liebschaft ist der Trug. Der Heilige Bashem sucht sie sein Chus in Heer, Liebe Mayid nicht kicken weg. Wieso geht, wieso ist, Liebe Mayid bemis, verbringen die Gehle kennen auch weg. Liebe Mayid in jedem Matze, der Schakul, wo jetzt in der Katze, wird der Tante geben, war ins Kinder, soll Kinder, was in der, war jeden Hand bei Hand. Hier sind wir Nüsse nach es und nach so, wenn es ist noch du, aha, was ist du? Hier mit Liebschaft wird man ins Balloinen,